Welcome back. All right, I wanted to take a look at the East before we hit the weekend. The weekend, of course, it's hockey all day, every day, both Saturday and Sunday, because that's how the NHL schedule works. But I wanted to take a look at things, a little bit of an updated look at things since the last time we looked at them. The Philadelphia Flyers are still sitting third in the Metro. They have 76 points, 67 games played. One thing to keep in mind, they've played more games than anybody else on the board, except Buffalo, who they sit 7 points ahead of. Now, I've got just the three predictions, predictive models on the board: Money Puck, Hockey Reference, and Athletic. So again, 26 regulation wins currently for Philadelphia. That is, in terms of numbers, it's right near the top. New Jersey's got 27, Buffalo 26, Tampa Bay 28. Regulation wins being the tiebreaker. If the same amount of points are had by teams at the end of the year, that's how you decide who's ahead of who. It used to be regulation and overtime wins. Now it's just regulation wins. So Money Puck has an 82.7% chance for Philadelphia to make it. They have the most optimistic model. Hockey Reference has them at 70.9%. The Athletic has them at 64%. So all those models like Philadelphia's chances, despite what happened last night with them against the Toronto Maple Leafs. But for Philadelphia, they're plugging away. They're getting points at a good enough rate that it does feel like they should make it. But there are definitely some teams behind them that want to change that narrative completely. Then you got Tampa Bay, 66 points, or 66 games played, I should say, 76 points. So they're 10 games above NHL 500. Again, they've got the 28 regulation wins, so they have that tiebreaker, plus they have the 4-point cushion before they'd have to worry about falling below the playoff line. And when we look at Money Puck, 93.4% chance for Tampa Bay to make it, 85.3% chance for them on Hockey Reference. The Athletic really likes Tampa too at 93%, so that's why I'm wearing Tampa. Pretty much across the board, everybody's saying, yeah, Tampa Bay is going to make it. They're currently the number one wild card. I will discuss their upcoming week if you're like, hey, he's skipping a part. No, I'm going to look at that for each team after we look at the overall numbers. For the Islanders, they've played 65 games, so they do have games in hand on Philadelphia. They have 72 points, but they have 21 regulation wins. So to finish ahead of Philadelphia, they have to have more points than Philly. So 4 points back with 2 games in hand means they likely would need to just have a little bit of help to get there. But again, you have 17 games left. They have 15. There's time. They are the number 2 wild card, those New York Islanders. They have a 43.8% chance of making it according to Money Puck, 48.2% chance according to Hockey Reference. I have to make sure I'm reading the line I'm looking at. And then on the Athletic, they have a 71% chance of the Islanders. So they're far more bullish on the Islanders right now than the others. But it will be interesting to see how it works out. And then there's Detroit. Detroit, it's not that long ago, they had a really good chance of making the playoffs. I remember videos this year where I've talked about the East. I haven't had Philly on the board or Detroit on the board because it looked like they were going to make it. Now Detroit's below the line. They have 66 games played, 72 points. So the only reason the Islanders are above the line is that one game in hand. In terms of regulation wins, Detroit has the lead there. They have 23. So the Islanders need to finish ahead of Detroit in points. They do not have the tiebreaker there. Now, according to Money Puck, 26.9% chance Detroit makes it. According to Hockey Reference, 47.5% chance. The Athletic has them at a 24% chance. So for Detroit fans, maybe don't watch this. I don't know. Although with the way they've been playing lately and their, 6 losses in a row, you might think 26 or 24%. Optimistic. Then you got Washington. Washington's dragged themselves back into the picture with enough wins and enough games and watching other teams lose often enough that they're right there. They have 71 points. They've played 65 games. So 5 points back of Philly with 2 games in hand. 1 point back of the Islanders. Both have played the same amount of games. They have the tiebreaker on the Islanders with 25 regulation wins. 20.1% chance of making the playoffs according to Money Puck. 22% chance in Hockey Reference, 21% chance from the Athletic. Then you got Buffalo, and one of the reasons this video is here is because, yes, Buffalo's moved their way up through the standings. 67 games, 69 points, so they're sitting above 500. It's a rarity for Buffalo to be above 500. I know we talk about playoffs, but hey, just having a winning record, that's a positive. They did have that last year too, though. 26 regulation wins for them means they have the tiebreaker on most of the teams around them, minus the New Jersey Devils. They only have an 8.5% chance of making the playoffs with Money Puck, but it feels like that's higher than it was the last time I talked about it. 7.3% chance on Hockey Reference, 6% chance on The Athletic. And they have a daunting week coming up, and we'll talk about it. New Jersey, 66 games played, 68 points. And it feels like last night with Jake Allen could be a turning point for them because after a bit of a shaky start, he ended up being really, really good for them. So they have 27 regulation wins, as I mentioned. They have a 15.4% chance of making it according to Money Puck, so they like them better than Buffalo. 8.5% chance with Hockey Reference, and 6% chance from The Athletic for the New Jersey Devils to make the playoffs. I wouldn't mind seeing them make the playoffs. I did predict they'd win the Stanley Cup this year, so happens. Pittsburgh, 65 games played, 67 points. And after last night's game, Malkin's like, yeah, we're still in the hunt. They are. And their upcoming schedule means they could very well pull their way up through the rankings. So they have 24 regulation wins, which is more than Detroit, more than the Islanders. It is not more than Philly, but they're 9 points back of Philadelphia. They do have 2 games in hand, but 9 points back, it is difficult to make up that difference over such a short period of time. They have a 9.1% chance of making it according to Money Puck, 10.3% chance according to Hockey Reference, and a 16% chance in the Athletics. So of all the teams on the board, Buffalo is still given the worst odds because they've played 67 games, and their upcoming schedule, a bit daunting. So we'll go through the upcoming schedules, and I just wanted to do the next 7 days from tomorrow, Saturday, until the Friday, where Philadelphia is at Boston tomorrow. Now, Boston's been very inconsistent, and they could beat Montreal and Toronto. We'll see how they do against Philly. Then Philadelphia comes home and they play against Toronto on Tuesday. Well, they're going to want to play a little better against Toronto on Tuesday than they did last night. And then on Thursday, they're at Carolina. So their upcoming week is not easy. Philadelphia basically has to get their game together. This coming week could see them have their playoff odds drop a little bit. Tampa Bay, they're at Florida tomorrow. Then they're at Vegas on Tuesday, and they're at San Jose on Thursday. So that's a tough go-around in that you're going from playing in Florida on Saturday, which is, I'm just looking at the board here. That game starts at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, and then they're in Vegas on Tuesday. So that's a 3-hour time change right there. That can be difficult for teams. Talked about that during the season. Teams going out west, teams going back east. Can be tough for them. Going between conferences is rough. But Vegas obviously is going to be tough for them. San Jose should be a little easier, but again, as we've seen with Carolina and other teams, going out west can be difficult. For the Islanders, their upcoming schedule, they're at home against Ottawa tomorrow. That's going to be an interesting one. And then on Sunday, so the next day, they're in New York. So it's back-to-backs there, and going to New York and playing against the Rangers. Now, first off, it's not much of a road trip to the New York Rangers for the Islanders, obviously. But it's not an easy opponent either. Second half of back-to-backs, of course, for the Rangers, that'll be a back-to-back for them too. And the team that they're playing tomorrow is also on the board. Then on Tuesday, the Islanders are home against Carolina. And then the big one you want to circle on Thursday is at Detroit. That is a game that's going to decide, it could decide anyways, where things end up landing. Although Ottawa, Rangers, Carolina, that's a little more difficult than what's upcoming for the Detroit Red Wings. Keeping in mind, they can't beat Arizona. They've lost to Arizona twice in about a week. So tomorrow they're at home against Buffalo. That's absolutely huge for the season of the Buffalo Sabres and the Detroit Red Wings. Then the next day on Sunday, they're at Pittsburgh. That's not going to be an easy turnabout because Pittsburgh, as I mentioned earlier, still feels they're in the hunt. Then on Tuesday, they're at home against Columbus. Thursday, they're at home against the Islanders. Columbus makes you work for it. And the Islanders, as I said, that could be an absolutely huge game for those teams. And so they're going to want to come up with their best effort. But the reality is that over the next 3 games, Detroit's against teams that are below them in the standings. If they assert themselves and play well, they could build 6 points here, and then you're hoping for the Islanders to lose one of those next 3 games before you meet them. So you want to have that advantage and points. And then the game against the Islanders, the pressure's really on them, and you're at home. Then for Washington, their road trip continues tomorrow at Vancouver. No idea what to expect from the Canucks in that game. Then they go to Calgary on Monday, and then at home they're against Toronto on Wednesday before they face Carolina on Friday. So what's interesting is Carolina's upcoming week is going to have some major implications on teams that are just holding on. So again, for Carolina, they could say, well, these are teams beneath us in the standings, but they're going to play Tuesday against the Islanders, Thursday against Philadelphia, and Friday against the Washington Capitals. So the Capitals get them on the second half of a back-to-back after Philadelphia. Carolina could have a lot to say in where teams finish at the bottom of the playoff picture in the East. So for Buffalo, their upcoming week, they have 4 games coming up. So we'll be looking at 71 games for them by next week at this time. Tomorrow they're at Detroit, and then they go out west. And as I said about Tampa Bay, these road trips out west can be difficult. So it starts Monday at Seattle. Well, Seattle still considers themselves to be in the picture in the West. I don't think they are, but I mean, until you're mathematically eliminated, you should play like you're still in it. Then on Tuesday, they're at Vancouver, and Thursday, they're at Edmonton. And again, Vancouver can be a little bit unpredictable. Edmonton, pretty strong at home. I know Vancouver has one of the best, if not still the best, home record in the NHL. But yeah, just it's been inconsistent from game to game recently. I know they've been winning, but still, because you've been winning in the previous week doesn't necessarily mean you win in the following week. So we'll see how it goes. And Buffalo has been tough for Vancouver in the past. Then you got New Jersey. New Jersey's out west. At Saturday, so tomorrow they're at Arizona. Then Sunday they're at Vegas. That's a tough back-to-back. You get Arizona on the front half of the back-to-back, which is probably for the best. I would think you have Kakkonen against Arizona and then Jake Allen against Vegas. Then they come home on Tuesday. So they only have a one-day turnaround, 1 day off before they're playing again at home against Pittsburgh. That's not all that easy. And then they're at home against Winnipeg on Thursday. So the upcoming schedule for New Jersey, a challenge. As I mentioned earlier, they've had a hard time getting on a roll this year. Maybe this is the start of it. For Pittsburgh, tomorrow they're at home against the Rangers. Then the next day they're at home against Detroit. So they're at home for both of the back-to-backs. But the Rangers, one of the better teams in the National Hockey League right now, and Detroit fighting for their playoff lives. Then on Tuesday they're at New Jersey. So that's a huge game to look at. And then Friday they're at Dallas. Dallas, are they unpredictable? Yep, kind of. So we'll see how it all goes, but this is a fascinating chase in the East. I do much prefer it when the races are races and we're not seeing this huge separation between above the playoff line and below the playoff line. It's kind of boring when it happens like that, where we already know who's in the playoffs and who's not with like 2 months left or 3 months left. So things have been different in the East, and yes, I can do a video of this on the West as well. Likely not today unless I do it after tonight's review, and I'm also going to be previewing the 14 game day tomorrow tonight. So probably not tonight, but at any rate, soon I'll take a look at the playoff picture in the West as well. But let me know your thoughts. Have your thoughts changed on who's going to make the playoffs and who's not? Is it fool's gold we're looking at with Buffalo? Are they getting all these wins and they're starting to make people believe again just to pull the rug out from under them? That's why I haven't jumped on the whole, hey, they could make it. I don't want to do that again. They can make it. They can. Can doesn't mean they will, but they can. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Does Philadelphia hold on to a spot, or are we starting to see cracks showing that are eventually going to take them out of the picture? Let me know your thoughts. Hit like and subscribe if you haven't done so thus far. And hey, thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.